to DrugTalk, the remedy that brings you closer to the science of drugs and the stories that hold their secrets.
All right, so we're diving deep into the world of cancer vaccines today.
Oh, yeah, it's a fascinating field.
It really is, and we've got a ton of research papers here, just a mountain of them, really.
Well, get ready. It's going to be a wild ride.
We're going to unpack how these vaccines actually work, the different types that are out there, and the potential they have, really turn the tide against cancer.
And the creativity, I have to say. The different ways researchers are tackling this, it's like they're building a whole arsenal of weapons to use against cancer.
That's a great way to put it. And it's important too, right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about millions of people diagnosed every year.
It's a staggering number.
It is, and sadly, so many lives lost,
Yeah.
which is why finding better treatments, it's urgent, right?
Absolutely. And, that's what makes these vaccines so revolutionary. Because instead of just kind of, hitting the whole body with chemo or radiation, which can be brutal.
Oh, carpet bombing, yeah.
It really is. This is about training your body's own defenses, using your own immune system to target and destroy those cancer cells.
Okay, so how does that actually work? I see this term in the research, tumor microenvironment, TME. Sounds kind of ominous, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a fitting name, I have to say. Think of the TME as like a fortress that the tumor builds around itself, this network of cells, all working together to protect the tumor.
So the tumor is creating its own little safe haven.
Exactly. And get this, it even suppresses the immune system's defenses.
Wow, so it's like setting up walls and posting guards to keep the good guys out?
Exactly. And that's where these cancer vaccines come in. They're designed to break down those defenses, to unleash the immune system.
Send in the troops?
Yes. Those T cells we hear so much about, they're the ones to seek and destroy those cancer cells.
Okay, this is all making sense. But I gotta say, looking at these research papers, there are a lot of different types of cancer vaccines. Dendritic cell vaccines, whole cell vaccines, peptide vaccines. It's a lot to keep track of.
It can seem overwhelming, yeah. But really, it just shows how creative the researchers are being.
Pretty amazing.
Each type uses a slightly different strategy. But the goal is the same: trigger a strong immune response, an immune response that lasts.
Okay, so let's break it down a bit, starting with those dendritic cell vaccines. What's the strategy there?
Imagine dendritic cells as like the intelligence agents of your body. They're patrolling, gathering intel on potential threats. And a dendritic cell vaccine, it trains these agents to recognize specific cancer cells.
Ah, so you're giving them a picture and saying, go find this bad guy.
Precisely. We're training the immune system's first responders, you could say.
That makes sense. What about those whole cell vaccines? Are they using real cancer cells for that?
That's the fascinating part. They can. It might be weakened or killed tumor cells or even just parts of them.
So it's like showing the immune system the whole enemy lineup.
Yeah.
Making sure they know exactly who to target.
Exactly. It creates a much more robust response that way.
That makes sense. And these peptide vaccines, those seem really interesting. They're much more precise, right?
Incredibly targeted. Peptide vaccines use specific protein fragments from the tumor peptides.
Okay.
And these peptides activate the immune system.
So it's like sending a coded message.
Yes. Like a coded message only certain immune cells can read, telling them precisely which cells to attack.
Wow, that's some next level stuff.
Yeah.
But with something this complex, are there downsides? What are the challenges?
Well, you're right. It is a complex field. Each vaccine type comes with its own hurdles.
Right.
Some are still in the very early stages of research. And of course, there are challenges like manufacturing costs, making sure the right patients are getting the right vaccines. And then there's that tumor microenvironment we talked about, overcoming its defenses.
All right, because it's not just sitting there waiting to be attacked.
Yeah.
It's like a constant back and forth, researchers trying to outmaneuver the tumor.
It's a chess match for sure.
It really is. But what about safety? Could these vaccines backfire?
Yeah.
Cause more harm than good?
It's a critical question. And it's something that researchers are evaluating constantly. Like any medical treatment, there can be side effects.
Right.
Some are mild, like you might get with the flu shot. Others can be more serious.
Of course.
But I do want to emphasize that patient safety is the top priority in all of this research. There's rigorous testing and monitoring at every stage to minimize those risks.
That's good to hear. Now, we can't talk about cancer vaccines without talking about mRNA vaccines. They've become pretty well known thanks to the whole COVID-19 pandemic.
That's right.
But how are they being used to fight cancer?
It's the same basic principle, delivering instructions to cells. With cancer vaccines, the mRNA teaches your cells how to make specific proteins that are found on cancer cells.
Okay.
And this triggers the immune system to see those proteins as foreign invaders and then, attack.
So we're basically turning the body into its own vaccine factory.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Wow.
That's one of the most exciting areas of cancer vaccine research happening right now.
With all these different approaches, how do doctors even figure out which one is right for each patient?
That is a critical question.
Yeah, it seems overwhelming.
It's why personalized medicine is becoming so central to cancer treatment. Researchers are working on ways to figure out the best vaccine type based on a patient's tumor.
So it's not even just finding a cure for cancer, it's finding the cure for your specific cancer.
Exactly. It's about taking a personalized approach, tailoring the treatment to each individual patient.
And that's where understanding the tumor microenvironment is so important.
Absolutely. We need to analyze it, find its weaknesses, develop strategies to target it effectively.
So it's like a personalized battle plan.
Precisely.
Incredible.
And sometimes the best approach involves combining different vaccine types, or even combining vaccines with other treatments like surgery, radiation, or immunotherapy.
Wow, so it's like a team of superheroes,
I like that.
each with its own unique power, working together to fight the cancer.
Exactly. And that's where these clinical trials are so crucial. They're helping us understand which combinations are the most effective and, of course, safest for different types of cancer.
Speaking of clinical trials, the papers mentioned some promising results with some of these newer approaches. What are we seeing in the research?
There have been some really exciting developments. For example, there was one trial using a personalized mRNA vaccine called mRNA-4157, and they used it alongside a checkpoint inhibitor.
Okay.
And in this trial, they saw a significant decrease in the risk of melanoma coming back in patients.
Wow, that's incredible. Does that mean they cured it?
Well, we always have to be cautious about using the word cure, but these results were so promising, the FDA gave it breakthrough therapy designation.
So they're fast-tracking its development.
Exactly. They recognize the potential here.
So even though it's not a guarantee, it's a big step towards more effective treatments. Are there other trials showing similar results?
There are a lot of trials going on right now exploring different platforms and combinations. It's a really exciting time to be in cancer research.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a revolution in how we treat cancer. But let's be real, there are going to be challenges. What are the biggest hurdles that researchers face in developing these vaccines?
You're right, it's not an easy road. I'd say one of the biggest challenges is just how complex cancer is. There are so many types, each with its own, quirks. It makes it difficult to create a one-size-fits-all solution.
And everybody's immune system is different, too.
Exactly. It's like trying to find a universal key that fits millions of different locks.
That's a great way to put it.
And that's why this whole personalized medicine approach is so important. We need to move away from those generic treatments. Focus on therapies tailored to the individual patient and their specific cancer.
So less about finding a magic bullet and more about creating a custom set of tools for each person.
Precisely. And while there are definitely hurdles, the potential benefits of these vaccines are huge. Just imagine a future where cancer is no longer a death sentence, but a manageable condition thanks to these therapies.
So that's a future worth striving for. But let's talk about the financial side of things for a moment. Aren't these personalized treatments going to be incredibly expensive?
Well, it's true that personalized medicine can be costly, at least at first. But as the technology improves and becomes more available, the costs should come down. And we have to remember that the potential payoff, longer, healthier lives is priceless.
That's a good point. And if we can actually prevent the cancer from coming back, that's a huge win in terms of long-term healthcare costs, right?
Absolutely. It's about shifting our mindset from just treating cancer to preventing it altogether.
And these vaccines are just one part of that. They'll be most effective when we use them with existing treatments like surgery, radiation, immunotherapy.
You're exactly right. Integrating these vaccines into a comprehensive treatment plan is key.
It's like we have all these tools in our toolbox, and now we're figuring out how to use them together most effectively.
Exactly. And as we understand more about how these treatments work together, we can come up with even better strategies.
It's really about teamwork.
Exactly. And speaking of teamwork, we can't forget about collaboration.
Collaboration, you mean between researchers in different institutions?
Yes. Cancer vaccine research is a global effort. We have scientists, doctors, pharmaceutical companies from all over the world working together, sharing their knowledge, resources, expertise, all to make faster progress.
That's pretty amazing to see the whole scientific community come together like that.
It's really inspiring. It shows just how powerful collaboration can be in advancing science. And it's not just about the scientists. It's about the patients, families, advocates, everyone coming together to raise awareness and push for continued research.
It's a collective effort, for sure. But with all this talk about manipulating genes and cells, are there ethical considerations we need to be thinking about with these technologies? That's a big one, for sure. When you start messing with the blueprints of life, got to think about the ethics.
Absolutely. We have to be having those conversations, talking about the good and the bad, making sure these incredible tools are used responsibly.
It's about finding that balance, right? Pushing the boundaries of science,
Yeah,
but also remembering what's right.
exactly.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Big picture, what does the future hold for cancer vaccines?
Well, I think we're moving towards a future where these vaccines are a standard part of cancer care, not a last resort, but something that's readily available, personalized to each patient.
So instead of being terrified of a cancer diagnosis, it might just become something manageable.
That's the goal. It's a long road ahead, but we're seeing so much progress. And it's not even just about treating existing cancers. What if we could prevent them from developing in the first place?
Preventing cancer entirely. That sounds like science fiction.
I know, right? It might seem far-fetched now, but as we learn more about the immune system, about the genetics behind cancer, it's becoming more and more of a possibility.
Wow, that's amazing. It really does feel like we're on the edge of a whole new era in medicine. But in all this excitement about the future, we can't forget about the people who are battling cancer right now. What does this research mean for them?
Hope. It means that better treatments are coming, more effective, more targeted, and hopefully with fewer side effects than the current options.
That's got to be reassuring for patients and their families. Where can people go to learn more about these advancements?
There are a lot of great resources out there. The National Cancer Institute, the American Cancer Society, their websites are a good place to start.
Lots of reliable information there.
Yeah, and of course, talking to your doctor is always a good idea.
Right, they can answer your specific questions.
Exactly, and help you navigate all of this.
It's really about being proactive, being informed.
Absolutely. It's a partnership between you and your healthcare team.
Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. If our own bodies have the key to beating cancer, who knows what else we can achieve?
That's what's so exciting about all of this.
This deep dive has been amazing. I hope our listeners are inspired to keep learning about this stuff.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us.
This was Drug Talk, the remedy that brings you closer to the science of drugs and the stories that hold their secrets. Produced and edited by Dr. Nicholas Dietis.